What's up, Internet? My name's Nerdy.
And I'm Clarus.
And we've seen Deadpool and Wolverine.
We've seen all of it.
We've seen the whole movie and the post-credit scene, because it's a Marvel movie. And now we're going to tell you what we think.
Stop it.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
Not one spoiler in the review, I promise.
No, we're just going to chat about how we felt, and I think overall it's a very fun movie.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it's a very fun movie. I think that it's very crowd-pleasing. I was making some loud nerd noises that only come from nerds who look like me. It's very unique.
Yeah, people don't laugh. Yeah. No. Only nerds laugh.
No, Deadpool Wolverine tells the story of Deadpool, who is trying to save his universe when plot happens. But because this is a non-spoiler review, it's really hard to talk about this movie. Basically, everything that happens after, like, the first second of the movie is spoilerable. So, like, go see the movie on your own. I think it is a funny, good time that you will enjoy in the theater. I do think that if I were to levy some big compliments at it first before we get into a couple of criticisms, I really think Hugh Jackman was incredible.
Yeah, 100%. He looked great.
He looked great. His performance was amazing. The suit looks great on him. He carries so much of the emotional weight of the movie and adds a serious tone that is sometimes needed next to Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool. I think Ryan Reynolds, if you liked him in the first one and the second one, he's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I think that the movie tries to add a little bit of depth to that, and I don't know how successful it was at doing that. The whole way through, I think that it kind of felt like a similar set of beats to the second Deadpool movie in some ways.
Yeah, I actually think I did like it better than the second one.
That's fair. I think it's a better movie than the second one. I just mean the emotional beats that the Deadpool character goes on felt a little similar.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of, like, wonderful people that show up. Obviously, if you've seen, like, trailers and stuff, you know they've teased a lot of things, and so that was always, like, fun in the theater for everybody to be like, oh, you know, like, really get into it.
People that I did not expect in a billion years.
Which is cool.
Yeah, which is really... There was one that I made a noise so loud that... and alone. I think I was the only person who understood what was going on. And it was wonderful. I will say Emma Corrin, who plays Cassandra Nova, the villain of the movie, is given very, very comic booky dialogue to say. And I think she crushed it. Yeah. With a character whose motivation has always been, I'm evil Charles Xavier. Yeah. From, like, the inception point in the comics to now. I think that she took that and made something genuinely interesting of it when it could have just been bland Marvel villain badness. Yeah. Which has happened. There have been a few, and sometimes by great actors who just haven't managed to pull off what I think she pulls off in this movie.
Yeah, I think she did a fantastic job. I think that most of the hand-to-hand combat was really well done and well choreographed. Like, they clearly spent a lot of time with all of those fight scenes and not just relying on editing or CGI in certain stances. There are a couple things that I think don't look the best.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But there's also things in the second movie that I don't think look the best.
The second movie has bad CGI. There's one domino sequence.
Looks bad in Deadpool 2.
Juggernaut?
Yeah.
Juggernaut's in Deadpool 2?
Yeah, he looks like a fucking wall.
Oh, that, yeah. They were going for a comic book thing that I...
Sure, but I think that he looks bad, personally. That's just
the CGI in Deadpool 2, there's one domino sequence where the CGI is like a PS2 graphics. PS3. I'll give it a PS3.
Sure.
So, you know, I think that these movies have always tried to be a little bit cheaper than the other Marvel movies. And that is reflected at some of the CGI in this film. Yeah,
I think some of that movie they put into the trailer to be slightly misleading.
I don't think it was misleading.
Not misleading, but like it's a little bit different. It is different stuff, like a little bit.
Oh, there are some shots in the trailer that are misleading.
That are different, which is fine. You know, like I think
they've been doing that since freaking like Iron Man 2. Though.
No, yeah, and I don't mind that, but you know that also costs money, so you have to get it from somewhere. You got to put it somewhere.
If I were to level my main criticism of this movie, I think that in order to set up the plot. It involves, and this is in all the trailers, so I don't think that this is a spoiler. Yeah. It involves the TVA, which is a MCU thing that is only from the TV shows mostly Loki.
Yeah.
And I think that the beginning of this movie feels a little bit long in getting the audience who doesn't follow all of the Marvel stuff understanding enough.
Yeah.
But also messes with kind of the plot of Loki enough that if you do watch that stuff very closely, it doesn't fully work. Which is something that the movie jokes at.
Yeah.
Like the movie does
aware.
take time to make fun of multiverses not maybe being the easiest thing to write.
Yeah.
But it's still
not always working.
it definitely took a minute. There's an incredible action sequence at the beginning, and then there's a chunk of time where the movie just is trying to make sure that all of the audience, whether it is children who have never watched a Marvel movie before,
there were like
6-year-olds at our screening
in our audience, which was shocking to
not
me.
the movie for them. Or like someone who has seen 7 Marvel movies, all the way up to like people like me who have seen everything except Echo. Still haven't seen Echo. Need to watch Echo. It's weird that that's the one that we missed. But the time it takes to get all of those people on board does drag a section of the movie down a little bit.
Yeah. It's weird because I think that Deadpool specifically feels like it would be or should be more accessible to like not the diehard movie fans, like Marvel movie fans.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Right? Like Deadpool feels a little bit separate, a little bit adjacent.
Because it has been. It's been its own universe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if changing that really worked, because like you said, they had to do a lot of setup to make sure that people who haven't seen that shit like understand what's going on. And there's a bit of a middle section that I think drags, unfortunately. I think they do a pretty decent job of making sure that everyone is able to follow what's going on.
Yeah, I do.
Right? Like I
think the movie makes sense. I don't know that it makes sense next to Loki,
No.
but neither does like Secret Invasion next to Marvel, so whatever.
Exactly. But if you haven't seen Loki, you're fine to watch this movie. They do a good enough job of letting the audience understand. But including the TVA is such an interesting choice for that reason. Yeah.
There are a lot of cameo performances that are far more than simple cameos, than simple like throwaway gags. I want to just compliment a lot of those actors for what they pulled off. I can't say who it is or what they did, but they were good.
Well done.
There is one joke that we both did not like. They throw out the R word that rhymes with regarded in a way that is it wasn't even funny, and so it wasn't like, it just wasn't a good joke.
No, it was just a bad joke that honestly felt like Twitter rage bait.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and I hate that it feels like media is doing that deliberately, like trying to be edgy to stoke a fire that is already fucking burning, raging. We don't need to stoke that fire. We can let it like burn out. You know what I mean? Like that joke took me out in a really not good way, unfortunately.
And it wasn't a good joke.
No, it's not. It wasn't funny.
It was a dud moment, unfortunately, in an otherwise great scene.
Well, and no one in the theater laughed.
No, because it wasn't funny. It was just like, oh, that's what you went with. And the problem with the moment, and we'll talk about this. I think on Sunday we might do a full spoiler live chat where you can come talk to us about the movie.
We'll talk about the movie.
The moment around it isn't a setup for a joke.
No,
we'll talk about it on Sunday.
It's weird.
But it was in a movie that is very gory and bloody and pushes the limits in that way. It was the only moment that didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And even if you're a person who, like, because I know that there are people who are like, well, that you guys are just soft. Like, that word doesn't. It is a slur, and I think that there is a way to use slurs for comedy to advance sort of a conversation about it, right? I think that there's a way to use any word in order to advance some sort of narrative that is positive or negative for society. My problem with this joke is that it wasn't anything. It
it wasn't funny. It wasn't a joke. It just was to have the word in there, I think, which is why it felt so jarring and inappropriate and rage baity.
Yeah, it's not like they were throwing out slurs throughout the movie to make a commentary on them or something like that. It was the only one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it just, it felt super out of place. Yeah. I think the other thing that I will say is I think that by setting this movie around Deadpool and Wolverine, two characters who are basically indestructible, the action does lose a little bit of its the stake. There's not the stakes of the action are difficult to follow in this movie.
They're at
they kind of disappear.
Yeah.
And so sometimes action sequences go on a little bit long because you're like, well, nobody can actually nothing can actually happen here.
Yeah.
This scene can't go anywhere because all of the people on screen are indestructible.
Yeah.
And it's
just action for action, and
but I do think that at times that if I wish that they had found a way to find some stakes in some of the action sequences.
Yeah.
I think that the movie would have benefited from that a little bit. It's not a huge complaint, but it did kind of keep the third act from having much weight to it.
Yeah. Based on the most recent trailer they put out, I thought that this movie would be a bit more impactful to me.
Yeah, that last trailer was great.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it wasn't. It was a very fun movie that I had a great time watching. Mm-hmm. Like, there's nothing egregious that it did, like, that I'm like, oh, this is terrible. But there's also nothing...
That one joke aside.
Yeah, which that just... I don't really know. I don't get it. And so I'm just kind of, like, treating that as its own thing and separate from the movie, because I don't know how to talk about it right now. But
it's also related to a cameo that makes it a little bit extra complicated. We'll talk about it on
Sunday. Exactly. So we'll talk about it in the live stream. But I had fun. I just don't think that this movie is particularly memorable apart from some cameo stuff.
Yes.
And that's okay. Not every movie has to be life-changing. Like, my soul has been transformed, right? Had a good time. Will I watch it again? Maybe. Should you go see it? I think so. I think that it's a lot of fun. I think a lot of it is well done. So
I think that it is far more memorable for me for a number of reasons that are related to how meta the movie is.
Yeah.
There is a lot of humor in this movie that is derived from your understanding the personal lives of people who appear in this movie. And not just, like, their personal lives now. There are jokes in this movie that, like, you have to have been reading People magazine in 2012 to get the joke.
Yeah.
It worked for me because I am a, like, criminally online neurotic mess of a person who remembers who's dated who in the celebrity scene. Some of these jokes will mean nothing to you if you are not that kind of person. If you don't care about celebrity relationships, there's a number of jokes. And, like, celebrity relationships. Like, when the OC was on television, celebrity relationships. If you were not paying attention back then, there are jokes in this movie that mean nothing to you.
Yeah.
And so I found it very memorable because I was like, this is a movie that, much like its music, really is obsessed with, like, 2009. And
I mean,
that was an unexpected treat for me. And obviously Hugh Jackman is one of the most important people in my life. Mm-hmm. Not because I know him, but for reasons I will say online one day.
We'll talk about it in the live stream.
Maybe not.
Oh, okay.
We'll see. But
we've talked about it online before. Yeah.
Have I told us right? Okay. Well then, his performance was great, and I that meant a lot to me. I really enjoyed it. It's in all the marketing. You're not gonna be able to go into this movie without seeing it. Because it's literally on all the tubs in the lobby. When the mask goes on,
it's go time.
This guy was so happy.
Yeah.
I was really happy.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it was fun. Let us know what you thought. If you've seen the movie, I mean, I feel like this might be a mixture of people who have and haven't seen the movie. Yeah. So yeah, if you've seen it, let us know what you think. We'll announce a time on Sunday.
Yeah.
That we'll talk more in depth about it. But obviously it's Thursday. Most people probably haven't seen it, and so if we talk spoilers now, people are gonna have to come back to this. It's not worth it. We'll talk to you on Sunday.
Try really hard not to be spoiled. There are some genuine surprises that are so worth it.
Yeah, stay off Twitter because they like to spoil everything.
And I think that you'll have a good time with the movie. I don't know that this is one that you'll see every day this weekend. You know, I like, you know, certain movies, I don't know if this hits that upper echelon. I still think Deadpool 1 is the best Deadpool movie.
Yeah, I agree.
But this one is a good one, and there's a lot to love here. And I think that if you have been middling on the MCU in phases 4 and 5, are we in 5? I don't even know where we are. I think that this is a good one to get back into the theaters to see. I think that you will not be disappointed.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't become your favorite movie ever.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
If you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you don't, hit the dislike button. Leave mean comments down below because the algorithm god is hungry and we must feed her. This episode, that algorithm goddess is...
We literally can't say because it's all spoilers.
Morena Baccarin.
Sure.
Yeah, she's good in all these movies. She's never given enough to do, except in the first one because she got to peg Deadpool. But she's good in all of them. And she's a great actress. Her husband is very handsome, and I hope that she's very happy.
Good for you.
If you want to follow us around the internet, you can. I'm at Nerdy Nightly.
I'm at Claris Polaris.
Do something nerdy tonight.
Bye.
Bye.